When the Civil War ended in 1865, it solved two questions on the political and economic nature of the United States. First, political. The political question it answers is whether or not the United States was merely a compact of all these states getting together voluntarily, i.e., can a state leave the Union if it ever deemed necessary? The Civil War said no. The second question about the economic nature of the United States has to do with whether or not the United States remains half free and half slave. The Civil War, or at least its after effects, are going to say no as well. The war doesn't kill it. The Emancipation Proclamation doesn't free a slave, mainly because of the fact of what it says. It says that all slaves in rebelling states are henceforth and forever free. So what exactly does that mean? Well, in states that have slaves and are not rebelling, guess what? They kept their slaves. Maryland and Delaware kept their slaves all the way until the 13th Amendment was passed. The Emancipation Proclamation also talks about slaves in rebelling states. Well, this is kind of like having the Prime Minister of Canada outlaw the shirt that I'm wearing, the type of shirt that I'm wearing, right? Am I going to follow the dictates of a foreign leader? No, I'm not. I'm an American citizen. I'm not a Canadian citizen. Therefore, whatever the Prime Minister of Canada says, I don't necessarily have to follow. Well, states that are in rebellion against the United States are technically in another country, the Confederacy. So no Confederate is going to listen to the dictates of a president of the United States and follow it. So it doesn't free any slaves there either. Now, historians will say, well, that's not the point of it, and I get that. What's the point? It makes the war turn from the war just to save the Union to saving the Union and exterminating slavery. Only the 13th Amendment actually formally ends slavery. But with those two questions solved, whether or not a state can secede from the Union and whether or not the United States is going to remain half free, half slave forever, there's two more questions that are going to have to be answered. Number one is, what are you going to do about these slaves? I mean, after all, you've got 4 million former slaves running around now. What exactly does freedom mean? Does it mean civil rights? Are slaves or former slaves or freedmen, as they're called, are they going to be able to, say, bear arms, vote in elections, and have all the constitutional protections that the United States Constitution gives them? That is a major question that's going to be debated. Another question is going to be about what to do with the South in terms of rebuilding it. How are you going to do it? I want you to Google search for me. Google search Richmond 1865 and then Berlin 1945. And you tell me what's the difference. There really isn't. The South is in absolute ruins, and it has to be rebuilt. Its economics and its infrastructure has to be rebuilt in a lot of places. So those are two major questions and major points of debate that the United States is going to have to deal with throughout the process of Reconstruction.